Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Scoop Order. It is Oregon week. This is the week we've been waiting for. We're going to have a full breakdown. We're going to actually break down a little bit of Oregon's film tonight, along with our All-22 breakdown of Ohio State versus Iowa, some of the plays. We're going to take your questions, send in your super chats. Again, those go to Pay It Forward. We've signed up a bunch of new members to Pay It Forward. It's been a fantastic experience. So again, appreciate all you guys that are joining BuckeyeScoop.com. The site is growing very, very rapidly. So thank you to all of our new members. If you guys want the best week of the year to join, it's here. Go to BuckeyeScoop.com, sign up, fill out the registration, and become a part of the Scoop family. Again, if you love this podcast, the board is literally the other 23 hours of the day that we're not podcasting. So that's where we live. That's where we're at. You guys ever want to chat, talk football? It's an incredible group. Thousands of the best Ohio State fans are all on that chat. On that message board, and it's really spectacular. So, but as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all of your support. Again, the channel has been growing rapidly. If you guys want to do something special for us, again, something that I've been asking for over the last week or so, if you guys would subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, be absolutely huge. It's completely free. It might take 10 seconds to do. You can do it on your iPhone, do it on your iPad, do it on your computer. Just type Apple Podcasts, go to the little app, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe, and that's it. And it's completely free. It helps us out tremendously. It's a great way to show support for what we do as we bring you guys content each and every night. With that being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Devin, who is actually heading out to Oregon. He's trying to beat the hurricane from Florida out to Oregon. Devin, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Rewatched the game today. I got a pretty good handle on what was going on. I love Iowa. I love everything about how their program is. Again, I know it's very sterile. It's very vanilla, but they play really hard. Those guys play hard. They're just not in the same universe athletically as we are, and that's part of the problem when you're in Iowa. There's just not a lot of great football players in the state of Iowa. You got to do a lot of developing, but those kids played hard, especially in the first half. I mean, it was a fist fight, and in the second half, we kind of settled in and let the talent kind of flow. But what were your thoughts initially after the game? I haven't talked to you yet, and also as we push forward to the Oregon Ducks.
Well, man, to be honest, I did a show over on Buckeye Boys, and my prediction was that we would have a little bit of trouble running the ball on Iowa, because I know they were the number 2 team in the nation, or at least top 5 in the nation on defense, on running defense. So I predicted a lot more passing yards, and I did not expect our O-line to perform the way that they did, man. But that might have been the most beautiful thing about the game, is watching what the O-line did in the trenches, and vice versa on the other side of the ball, watching what our D-line did to their O-line. So the trenches was honestly a little surprising to me, in a good way, because I just expected, the running lanes not to be open quite so much. And I just felt like we were getting 5 yards on demand when we wanted it. Every running play, it seemed like, our O-line was getting 3 yards of push, and our running backs were getting 2 yards at least every single time, and then, like I said, defensive side of the ball, our D-line showed up big time. Jack, JT, Tyleek is an absolute animal. His first game back after the first 2 games. And I mean, he made his presence known the second play of the game, getting penetration and stopping them dead to rights, man. So, that first quarter, with those turnovers, it got a little rough to watch, but we still had 199 yards of offense in the first half. So it was really weird to look up the scoreboard and see 7-0. I felt like it should have been 21-0, 24-0. But I am very pleased with the outcome of the game and everything we saw. I felt like it was one of the more complete games we've seen the Buckeyes play, even though we had those couple turnovers in the first half.
I thought that our guys played really hard, especially in the second half. I knew that Iowa, as I said last night, when they have their calling card is running the football and stopping the run. So again, when that's what an organization's based on, then they're going to be good at it. They're going to be really good at it. Again, the way they play the, it's they're they're the only team in the league that's had. Kirk Ferentz has been there for 25 years. Their DC's been with them the entire time. So they've never changed anything. They haven't changed their techniques on defense at all. They're trying to become a little bit more modern on offense. But I remember how they play. They play very heavy. They want to keep it in front of you. They're very sound. And again, this isn't just cliche city, but I mean, I just remember playing against these guys. Like, they're excellent with their hands on the D line, and they fly to the ball. And that's how they can win, is because they do all of the little things right. Now, the problem is when you run into a team like Ohio State that does a lot of little things right and it has way more talent than you, then it can turn into a bludgeoning. And that's what it's been the last few times. Like, these guys, this is not a great Iowa team. They did not have the athlete. I've seen them have guys like T.J. Hawkinson and Noah Fant, Bob Sanders, Robert Gallery was the second overall pick. Like, they've had some monsters in that program. The O-line was down from what I've seen. When in the old days, they had usually their left tackle was usually a first round ish type pick, and I saw Riley Reef and Marshall Yonda and guys that were like top drawer dudes. I didn't see that yesterday, so I think that they're a little bit down, but they still played hard. Again, it's not taking anything away from Ohio State winning, but I didn't think this was a great Iowa team. The tailback was, I thought, an okay player, but not a big time NFL guy. But I think that they this was a good step. This team is a better team than Michigan State. Michigan State just blow their foot off with a shotgun every time they play. They say shoot yourself in the foot. It's like they bring a cannon out and shoot themselves in the foot and lose their whole leg because they turn the ball over so many times. And then we force turnovers. And again, that's a big credit to Jim Knowles and what this defensive staff is preaching, because these guys you can see them actively doing the Peanut Tillman punch. Peanut Tillman played for the Bears, and he was the guy I was actually teammates with in '08, and he literally he became excellent at punching the football out, which is something that you practice. And it's easy to do a drill in practice and kind of punch the ball out from under the guy's armpit and it goes flying out in the air. But Lathan Ransom is really good at it, and some of these guys are really good at it. And again, something that we were critical about last year on the defense, that was something that I thought they could vastly improve on, is forcing turnovers, and they are doing it at a game-changing rate. Because you force a turnover, man, it either ignites the horseshoe crowd or it takes the air out of the building on the road. Like, you go on the road and if they turn Oregon over 3 times, then they're going to win the game going away easily. I already think that we're dramatically better than Oregon across the board. I think the only position group I think that's better is their tight ends. They have better tight ends than we do, which isn't it's not real hard to do. But I like Will Howard. I think Dylan Gabriel maybe a touch better, but Will Howard, for what we do with Chip Kelly calling the plays, like, I'm taking that over what those guys bring to the table. What are your thoughts coming into this game? You got to watch Oregon. It was kind of nice. Oregon played kind of by themselves on Friday night, so I mean the whole world was watching the Oregon-Michigan State game. But what were your thoughts from that game?
Well, I thought that Michigan State did not play near as good against them as they did against us. But, watching that game, it's kind of the same thoughts I've always had when the Buckeyes go into Eugene there. I do not think that their trenches and their physicality of their team will be able to match up to the athletes that we have on our team. And especially after watching our O-line and our D-line against Iowa, I have a lot of confidence there that in the trenches, we'll win that. We'll win that game in the trenches when we go in there. But, you got to be careful with Oregon. I'll tell you, one of the things that I love to see in the Iowa game was our linebacker play, because that was really concerning me going into the Oregon game. And when you watch what Sonny and Arvell and Cody did, Cody might have missed a few tackles and whatnot, but overall, I thought Sonny stood out a lot. And that gives me a lot of confidence going into the Oregon game, because like you said, Oregon and their tight ends, you got to be careful there. And who's going to be matching up against their tight ends? Our linebackers. So we needed to see them take that step forward. They took that step forward. So that gives me that extra boost of confidence, and like you said, man, I wouldn't trade Will Howard for anybody. I posted that on the Scoop board, actually asking who, they would trade for. Some people Quinn Ewers, some people Cam Ward, had a couple Kyle McCords in there, which was pretty that was a funny one. But I like where we stand going into Eugene with Will Howard, with the way our O-line's playing, with the absolute dominant freaks we have at wide receiver compared to their DBs. Like I said, I just watched the physicality in the Iowa game, and you convert that over to the Oregon game, I think it ends up pretty good in our favor. I've said from the beginning of the season was more of a guess, but I got Ohio State by 14 points in Eugene. A lot of people look at me like I'm a nut job when I say that, but that's my score prediction, man. I think we go in there and we win by a couple touchdowns, man.
Yeah, I'd probably put it at 7-10. I think it'll be tight. I think it's going to be, we got to manage that road trip because, you see a lot of these guys take these long flights, and, it takes a hot minute to get your mind right and make sure that you're again, when you're the home team in one of these, it's so beneficial. I mean, everybody I'm sure watched the Cal Berkeley versus Miami game, and Miami was asleep for the first half of the game, and then they woke up, and the officials woke up too and helped them get through that one. And then, you see Michigan go out to Washington, and, like these long flights, man, I'm telling you, they're 6 hour. I mean, a lot of you guys are going to go out to Oregon, and you guys will land in Oregon. You'll probably be tired. And you're like, you imagine having to go out and play the best football game of your life. Like after you land, like you gotta, and I think, I believe the team's leaving Thursday. I hope they're leaving Thursday, and then they'll go out Friday, walk through, kind of walk around a little bit, sightsee, get out of the hotel, do a lot of that stuff. Cause I think that's the best way to get your body right for the time change, get your body right for, like you don't want to do that long flight the day before the game. That's tough. A lot of NFL teams, if they fly, like when I was with the 49ers, if we would fly to like play Philadelphia, we'd leave a day early just to, especially west to east. West to east is much more difficult than east to west because of the body, the time change, body change. But I say all that, Oregon, they came in here in 21 in a big noon kickoff, and which is, again, that was a 9 a.m. body time for them, and they played a big noon kickoff and they beat us. So that was as impressive of a performance as I've seen. Now, granted, our defense was atrocious with Kerry Combs running the show and our guys not being lined up and it just being like a kind of like a fire drill every day. But I think that there's going to be some vengeance. There's a few guys left that played in that game. Like Denzel Burke played a lot in that game as a freshman, and JT2 Maloa played a lot as a freshman. So there's some guys that, they got a little bit of that revenge thing going. Emeka as a freshman didn't play much in that game. I can't imagine, but it'll be interesting to see how this thing shakes out. I'm going to bring some film real quick because, again, I'm going to go through some of the plays from yesterday. I'm going to go through some Oregon stuff, but I love these are great little plays to run when you're dealing with you're going on the road. It's hard. It's loud. Do some stuff that can kind of shake some things up, a little misdirection stuff. Excuse me, let me get this clicked on correctly. There it goes. And, this is like the kind of stuff I'd start the game off with early. It's real simple. I mean, you got Mecca. He's coming up here. He's the guy that ends up being the first option. You come across, you got your tight end leaking. You got your tight end coming across formation here. You got him leaking right here. Mecca's got the big one, and then you got so I mean, this is so easy. It's a nice, easy throw. I like getting Will Howard out on the move a little bit because I think he feels comfortable, especially rolling out to his right, kind of his natural, his dominant arm side. Righties, you want him to roll out to the right. And he just throw a nice little dart here. Nice, easy touchdown. Again, this isn't, super tough, but I mean, you've got great options here because you literally have, one, here's JJ coming across, here's your three. And at worst, if they leave him alone, you could always dump it back to him, or you could run. So you basically have 5 options that are right in front of you. And like I said, I think that when you go on the road playing in these tough environments, like you want to get some stuff going early in the game, get a first down, move the chains. I think easy throws, short throws, get a ball in the hands of JJ, get a ball in the hands of Emeka. Obviously, you got to get the running game going pretty early, but I think that's the key because you want to try as best you can to neutralize the crowd. Like when you've played in these loud environments, I've played in a bunch of them, like Penn State and stuff. You want to try to get the crowd out of it. And the worst thing you could do is go 3 and out, go try to complete a deep shot and miss it and, or give up a sack, do something stupid. That's why I like the quick game is it's so helpful because you're literally, with the quick game, you're basically guaranteeing success when you've got guys like Emeka, guys like JJ. Again, you want to get them into a rhythm. You want Will Hard's confidence to spike. So I think like the quick game. I think that the running game. Excuse me, Devin. I'll get you back up on there. The running game, that's what these guys got to lean on. Devin, you're heading out there, but when you play in these loud environments, I think that draining the crowd early is critical. To do the best you can. And obviously you want to score the first drive and that's like the magical start. But, what are your thoughts? Because again, I think that this team is more of all of Ryan Day's teams, except for maybe 19, this is probably the one that's most equipped to win out on the road just because of how good the running game is, along with how good the rushing defense has been so far. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thing to back up to a point you made earlier about this traveling over time zones, I saw a stat yesterday that doesn't really go in our favor in terms of traveling, and that was 1 out of 7 teams that traveled across 2 time zones yesterday actually won. So 6 of the 7 lost. Now, I didn't look at the games, see which ones they were, whether it was really good teams against bad ones or whatnot, but that's a big deal, making sure that. And I texted you asking when they were going to get there. How early are they going to get there to acclimate to the time change and all that stuff? So that's something to keep into account that I think is a pretty big deal. But there's 2 things that give me a lot of confidence coming into this game in terms of the travel and in terms of it being in Autzen Stadium, where when the crowd gets involved, it's a big deal. And that's the veteran players that we have on this team. Even if they haven't played for the Buckeyes before, you got Seth McLaughlin, who's played in big-time games before, the center. Will Howard, our quarterback, has played in big-time games. Emeka Ibuka, Jack Sawyer, JT. We're just loaded on our team with veteran players that have had a lot of experience in very high-tense situations, intense road games, all that stuff. And then number 2, man, Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. I think Chip Kelly knows what the deal is. He's been around football long enough. I trust that he has got the plan of all plans coming in there for Will Howard in this offense. He's going to give him some easy looks to start off, a lot of misdirection, and like you were saying, get the run game going. So gives me a lot of confidence that we got Chip Kelly back there. And then you got a head coach in Ryan Day that doesn't have to call plays and try to manage the game. Because when you got a crowd like that in a road game like that, you better your head coach better be on point in terms of time clock management and all that stuff, because you see what time management could do. Washington screwed that up a little bit yesterday when old Jed Fish decided not to take a timeout before the half, drained about 10 seconds off the clock. They only got 1 shot in the end zone. So you got the veteran players, you got Chip Kelly, you got Ryan Day as a head coach that can focus on the management of the game. You got Jim Knowles, man, who, I don't always agree with everything he does, but one thing you can't argue with is results. And the under 7 points a game this year. And as Nevada said yesterday, it's under like 9.5 points going into last year as well. So, I think this team is not only loaded with a lot of veteran players with a lot of experience, you got a lot of young players with phenomenal skill, but you're also loaded with coaches that have been around this game for a long time, very smart coaches. They know how to prepare these players for this game and get a game plan together and make it as easy as they can for them. So I'm excited. I got confidence for all those reasons.
I think something to look at is with Chip Kelly. He basically created the Oregon brand with Phil Knight. Like he was the guy that really took them up to the highest that they've been. And he's never won there. He's 0-4 out going back there with UCLA. So I think that, there's got to be a part of again, I don't know how historically knowledgeable our players are, but I would want to get Chip his first win out at Oregon. And again, he didn't leave there on bad terms, so it's a little different. It's not like he got fired; he left and went to the Eagles. But that's a place that I'm sure that he wants to get a win. He knows, I'm sure, a lot of the people that are there. Obviously, he knows Phil Knight very well. But I think that he'll have something special for these guys. I think they've been holding stuff for this game, and this is a game where, if you're Ryan Day and the staff, you pull out every stop known to God in advance because you have to. This is one where you can't hold anything because, you got a bye week next week, so you can break tendencies, recalibrate, whatever. And the thing about this season is that you've had a really soft start of the schedule, like really soft. Like, you look around the country and you look at some of the other teams. And I don't know. I don't think Michigan is great, but I don't know who Texas has beaten, but we've had a pretty soft start to the schedule. Like, if you wanted to say, like, on a difficulty ranking, if you just look at our schedules that we've played the last 7, 8, 10 years, I don't know if there's been a softer one than this one, because we haven't played like a Notre Dame, or we haven't played in Oregon, or some of the traditional opponents that we would have early in the season. Washington, I think, got off the schedule. They were supposed to be on the schedule this year, and I think we replaced them with whoever, Western Michigan or one of these Patsy games that we've had to play. But I honestly like it, because I think that I think it's better when you've got a team that has kind of been remanufactured with a new quarterback, and with adding Quinshawn, you got JJ as a freshman. I'd rather these guys kind of get their legs under them and understand a little bit about what's going on before they have to go play a real test like in Oregon. And I think that's where they're at now. I'm going to toss out another quick clip, because I love watching these guys play defense, and I thought our defense showed up. That Jack Sawyer was excellent yesterday. But the swarming nature of this defense, and a lot was made of the 3 linebacker look that we got a lot yesterday. And again, you have to understand, like, with our defense, all we do is we match personnel. So it's nothing fancy, and this is what most teams, most NFL teams do. When they get 2 tights out there, man, we're going 3 linebackers. So we're not going to mess around. We're going to have 3 linebackers in the game. We're all up tight to the ball. And again, this works out great, because a lot of pressure, and then you see the closing speed from Caleb, who's the best safety in the country, and he just closes down here, crushes this guy. But again, like, you see, our guys are, we're knocking them back. Even if you just watch this, like, watch our guys up front knocking them back immediately. As soon as the ball snapped, the center's going backwards. And again, imagine if this is a real running play, and the center's getting jolted back, the edge is getting set. Because these guys are playing it like it's a run. They don't know that it's a bootleg. So they're playing it, and again, the fits are perfect, the edges are perfect. If this is a run, this thing's going to be dead on arrival, just because of our guys are all in their gaps. This is excellent. And again, I know that it turns into a bootleg, so these guys are turned into a pass block. And at this point in the play, the DN and D tackle don't realize it's a pass, so they're setting the edge. And again, but this is excellent fits by the whole defense. Now it ends up being a boot. Your safety shoots his gun, it gets there, and again, that's just outstanding defense. And again, we weren't as gap sound the last time we played Oregon, and obviously we played them 4 years ago, and everyone's gone. Mario Cristobal's obviously with Miami now, and so there's no symmetry from back then. But we did see those guys, and it wasn't great. But I like the violence the defense is playing with. I like that Sonny's coming on. Again, everybody with eyes knows that Sonny played his best game as a Buckeye yesterday. And then there's also Lorenzo Jr. We're bringing this little mix, and I think that they actually get home. They actually complete this one, but we're blitzing from a nickel. Now this is really tough, and this is something that I think that we could have done a little bit better. Lorenzo Styles Jr. actually is getting a lot of burn now as a nickel back, and we're trying to hold blitzes, but at some point, if you don't get home, it's going to be really tough to get anything out of it, because you have to be able to get home on these things. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Get my so here we run a nickel blitz and we completely disguise it. So when I say that we're disguising it, he doesn't cheat at all. And again, it ends up hurting us. But when you don't cheat, it's impossible for the offensive line to know who's coming, because right now they're thinking one of these 6 is coming. You're probably going to get 4 or 5. This is a simulated pressure essentially, because you're only bringing 4 guys, which is crazy because one of them is the nickel. So this is a pretty wild simulated pressure here by Jim Knowles. But you want to occupy guys. You want to stick down here, take him. You want him to set out wide, and then you need Lorenzo to come here as fast. And Lorenzo's probably our fastest DB, and he's an inch away from a kill shot. But this is a very exotic way to bring forward, because you're dropping your end out, dropping your linebacker. Everyone else is dropping out. But when you don't get home, we give up a long pass, which again, this is suboptimal. But again, I like this pressure because this is really tough on the O-line, because you end up with a 6. These guys they have 6 blockers. They have the 5 O-linemen, and they have the back, and we bring 4. And we almost get there. I mean, we're an inch away from killing this quarterback. So again, this is something that is this is a new day type thing. When you have the nose having to play contain, I mean, this is a pretty wild one. And you got A gap in here, and I mean, you're dropping 7 and you're bringing him. I mean, this is tough. And again, this is an inch away from being a sack fumble, but they're telling him not to cheat it, because he's just looking in at it. But if he cheats this 2 feet, I mean, if he buzzes in there a little bit, which they don't want the O-line to be able to change the protection, which is why they hold him here like this. But this is incredible. But again, it's like I've told you guys, and I used to teach my tackles this: if the safety is over top, you have to check this guy. And he's dead on the hash with him. So that means that this guy's probably coming. But Iowa's guys didn't know that, and the quarterback got walloped. But again, this quarterback made some throws. I mean, this is a great player right here about the quarterback. So again, it's not that's going to happen when you pressure and you run some unorthodox stuff sometimes. But I like some of that exotic stuff, because that was this close from being a sack fumble. Because Lorenzo Styles Jr., if he hits you, he's going to kill you, because he runs a 4.3 and he is fast. And again, that's a kill shot. That's a 10-yard running head start, shoulder right into the back of the ribs type deal. And when Jim Knowles designs this, if he's doing it so it's coming from the blind side, so the quarterback can't even see it to throw hot off of it. So what are your thoughts on that, Devin?
I think getting pressure on Gabriel is one of the major keys to this game. Now, I understand you can say that about most games, but here's why I say that: because not only the previous games that Oregon has played, but watching the Michigan State game, I watched them, do a blindside blitz as well. And Gabriel threw it, but they still smacked the crap out of him after he threw it. And then after that, he seemed a little bit anxious to be sitting in that pocket. And what'd he do? He threw 2 interceptions in the red zone right after that. So, and if you go back and watch his previous games, the interceptions he's threw, it's the same way. You get a little pressure on Gabriel, his game changes. But if you let him sit in that pocket, and he's got a clean pocket, and you give him time, he's going to find somebody. So I think, and I fully expect that Jim Knowles is aware of that they can sit back and see how he handles pressure. And it's not very well. He tends to throw picks, gets a little wild back there running around. So I'm excited to see the different pressures, that they bring to him. And I love seeing those pressures, because even in yesterday's game, when you watch, the first 3 third downs that they converted, we did soft coverage and not much pressure, and they converted. And then it was the 4th or 5th one, Jim Knowles, press coverage, brought the house, and then they just stopped converting. And we did that the rest of the game. So our defense, I just feel like, is such an attacking defense. They play their best when they are attacking, not when they're sitting back and waiting for something to happen. Now, I understand that there's certain times and certain calls that's what you have to do. You got to sit back and wait and react to the offense and all that stuff. But for instance, Sonny Styles yesterday, look how much better he played, because it's almost like Iowa played right into his strength. They're a running offense, and if you can just tell Sonny, hey, go, see ball, get ball. I mean, he tore it up yesterday. His best game, like you said earlier. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to see. And if we get pressure on Gabriel, it doesn't have to get home. If he's throwing it and getting hit every time he throws it, I expect some mistakes to be made and some interceptions to be thrown.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Jack's Warriors a sack because this is a special move, and I think that Jack gets credit for it along with JT, but I mean JT might have the best spin move in the country, and he never gets to use it because we make him cage rush all the time. But this is a wicked spin move. They're running a twist up here, so JT's gonna come up here. He's gonna hit his little cyclone, his little spin move. And then I believe that's Caden Curry. If it's not, I apologize, Caden. It looks like you. They're running a twist, so JT's got the right to go inside, kind of pick this, and then he's got a loop for contain. But oh my God, this spin move is wicked. I mean, look how quick he hits this thing. I mean, the tackle's dead. He has no chance. Inside spin, and the tackle basically gets a holding call, or they don't call it. And then on the other side, so he goes right at the legs. I mean, he probably gets him down. He makes the quarterback jump, which goes right into Jack. And Jack, this right tackle was having a tough time all day with Jack. Jack was dominating this kid. Jack hits him with the one-arm stab, gets him up in the air, gets him upright. Literally schoolboys him over JT. Jack sends his tackle flying because JT takes his legs out, and then Jack finishes it off. So again, I mean, that's about as devastating as devastating as you could do versus with two defensive ends versus two D tackles. But again, that's two guys getting home. We're running some inside game stuff here. Back's kind of hung up here. Caden's got the loop contained, but yeah, I mean, as much flack as these two take, I mean, these guys were killing it yesterday. And again, I don't know why we don't let JT spin more, because I've seen JT hit this a lot of times. I've seen him hit it in practice. I've seen it hit it all. And I'm like, that is so hard to go against if you're a tackle. Like this tackle, he has no help, and the guard can't get, it's so quick the guard can't get there to try to help him if they're sliding. Because again, they're not even sliding. This is literally man on. So, I mean, this tackle gives this thing up, man. And it's something that I don't even know. And I apologize if JT had hit this before, but I haven't seen him hit it this year. And I've always wondered, why do we not let JT spin more? Because, like I said, he's like Dwight Freeney when he spins, but we just don't let him do it. So it's like it's like telling Steph Curry he's not allowed to shoot threes. But what are your thoughts on that, Devin? Because again, I've seen guys. The thing about spin moves, and when you're an offensive tackle and you're trying to get into film study, is the first thing I would always look for is, can the guy spin? And if he spins, how often does he spin? And is it a legit spin, or is it just some half horse thing that isn't going to really bug you? JT's spin, if I was a tackle, my entire game plan to pass protect against him would literally be to stop that spin move. But I bet that Iowa's guy probably hadn't seen it because we don't let him do it. But that spin move is so good. So yeah, I mean, that's when we're like, when he's in the NFL, he'll magically get 10 sacks of the season. Like, why did he do that at Ohio? Well, because we didn't let him do a spin move. We didn't let him. You had to rush, contain, and cage, and do whatever, and that's fine. Like, I mean, he's playing in the constraints of the defense, but like that spin move is outer worldly. And and Jack has a spin. He has hands. When you give defensive ends the ability to rush inside and not just rush the edge, it makes your life a million times harder. Because when guys can only rush the edge, like, it's super easy to block those guys. But when they have a two-way go, that's a whole different universe, especially when they've got to move like that. What are your thoughts on that, Dev?
I got a question for you before I give you my thoughts.
Sure.
Because watching the game a few times, I feel like I've seen JT like spin out of contain, and then that opens up the edge, and then they run right around the edge. Now, again, that's why I'm asking you this question. When he spins, is that like a called play? Does he know that the defensive tackles are about to do a certain move on the inside and he's got help from the linebackers behind him or something? Or does he just spin whenever he feels like spinning, or can he only do that move on certain calls?
He can only do that. Like, there they ran a twist. I'll run it back and show it to you. Where Caden Curry Caden Curry plays defensive tackle on third down. And sometimes Jack does. I mean, they rotate if it's Kenyatta or if it's Caden Curry or whoever, but they run a twist here. And again, I haven't seen him do this in a twist. But in general, when you run a twist, when you run a twist, and a twist, just to make it super easy, is either a TE, which is the tackle. This is the tackle goes first, and then the end comes around second, or it's an ET. And again, you don't have to a neurosurgeon to figure out that whatever is the first letter is the guy that goes first. So this is an ET. So JT is the first guy through, and then the tackle is the second guy through. Now, whoever's the first guy through is usually giving himself up, on the play. And, when you give yourself up, you're basically saying, well, the second guy is going to get the sack or the pressure, because the first guy through, his job is to occupy both offensive linemen, grab them, hold them, whatever, run them over, pick them. There's a bunch of different things you can do. But it's interesting. I haven't seen JT hit this spin. And again, JT can't normally do this on his own. But when he knows that Caden Curry has contain, then all of a sudden, okay, I don't have contain anymore. I can rush inside and hit this and kind of go for broke. And so he hits this, and he knows that Caden is going to work his way out here to contain the quarterback run. Now, granted, this was not a running quarterback threat. So again, I think that's the big reason why JT could hit this, is because he was playing against a statue. He wasn't playing against Dylan Gabriel or some of these guys that can run around. The kid from Michigan State, Childs, these guys that can run. Because you can't let these guys break contain. But here Jack's got contain, and then Caden Curry's got contain. So we got our 2D tackles inside, linebacker spying, kind of picking up whatever else there is. So, but yeah, this is he hits this, and it's so clean. And you've got Caden. Caden basically becomes the defensive end when it's an ET, an E like phone home, and the end goes first, and the tackle goes second. Then the tackle becomes the defensive end. Basically, he's the guy. He's the containing guy now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and it answers my question perfectly. I was always curious about that. When you watch some of these guys do it, it's like, is it called, or do they do that spin move based off how the offensive tackle reacts? But now, you explained it. I mean, that makes perfect sense. But that spin move is that's gnarly, dude, and would be hard to stop. And I played a lot of basketball, so me and Mello did a show earlier. We talked about that. That's that JT basketball in him, man. Used to playing basketball, doing that spin move, so breaks him things out. But Gabriel's a little bit faster than that dude, but still, that spin move is fast enough. If Gabriel's looking the wrong way when he does that spin move, it's over. It's over with, for sure. Yeah. So
well, and the thing is you have to remember when you look at when you look at this this defense. I mean, sometimes if you have a guy like JT, I don't know if you want to give him total free reign, but like guys like Wade Phillips, when he had Von Miller, and Von Miller was at his the pinnacle of his career, or DeMarcus Ware, and a guy's got a spin like that, then you say, okay, you do your thing, and the linebacker behind you will make you right. He'll play off of whatever you do, because again, like when you've got Dwight Freeney, it's not like it's only when they run a TE they're going to let him spin. They're going to, if a guy's that good at hitting that move, you got to just build that into the defense. That's kind of going to be what you're going to move into. Break down. I'm going to break down JJ's long play, and then we'll get into some super chats. Again, the protection was excellent yesterday. I love. Good.
What do you think about the old turf monster getting JT there, and you seeing? I think I brought this up last time, but I saw several players slipping again yesterday. That's just part of the game, man. Part of the playing on the Ohio State field. Do they need new cleats? Does Ohio State need to change the turf? Is that the way turf is normally, or is this literally a horseshoe issue with the turf?
Well, I don't remember slipping on the turf. I played on it in 2007, and I don't remember years ago, like there being this many guys slipping on turf. Again, it's something that you can watch football kind of all day, all night, forever. And, you don't see guys. There's some surfaces that are terrible, like the Arizona Cardinals field that It's like natural grass. It's the one we played on for the Florida game. Again, I'm not blaming. That's not why we lost the Florida game. We lost because we got our butts kicked. But that field was like really bad. Our '06 Michigan game field was terrible. If you go back and watch that game, guys were slipping all over the place because we planted new grass like 2 weeks before the game, so the grass obviously didn't take root, and we're out there running around like your new if someone builds a new house and they lay down sod. Go put cleats on and run around in that after 2 days of it being planted. You'll be like, man, my sod ain't really taking too good a hold, and I'm slipping all over the place, and big chunks are flying up under my feet, and you'll be like, man, it'd be real hard to play football on that. You're like, yeah. I mean, grass grows, but it doesn't grow that fast. I mean, you got to water it and whatever. But I think our turf's atrocious. And again, if they're not going to fix the turf, then we got to change the cleats, and you got to figure out something to keep these guys from falling and slipping all over the place, because it looks ridiculous. It's not everybody, but these skill guys, they put their foot in the ground, they generate a lot of force, they get rolling, and it's ugly. I mean, you hate seeing skill guys fall down and look like they're slipping on a banana peel every time they get out in the open field. But I saw it happen to Brandon Ennis. I think that was a week or two ago, and it was I was like, oh my God, looks like
Will Howard's was the worst on the fourth down call. When he was going to cut back and go through the wide open lane that he had, and it literally looked like he stepped on a banana peel and fell right on his back. So
yeah.
It happens a lot, man. I was always curious, like, what's the deal? There's no way they're wearing the wrong cleats, because surely they would have figured that out by now. So I'm guessing there's no solution other than change the turf, or they would have figured it out by now. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me how it keeps happening.
Yeah, it's not optimal. I'll leave it at that. But I think they just need to get new turfs again. You watch these NFL teams; they're not slipping on every single play. So again, the silt, it's like SILT turf that we have, it's been banned by the NFL. So I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's above my pay grade, but it looks ridiculous when our guys are falling all over the place. This is a nice little pass to JJ. We'll probably get this thing out a second earlier, a touch earlier, to get JJ in stride a little better, but protection is excellent. Josh Simmons is on the island, locks this whole thing down. Our other four guys, they muck up these three guys. They're running a little game over here. They're running a little end nose, and this end's supposed to come around. Josh is on the island. Josh has been fantastic. Josh Simmons. JJ's got to wait for this for a second, but still, this is a really, I mean, this is JJ. I mean, I think Wills has got to figure out that JJ's way faster than anybody he had at Kansas State, and he's just got to chuck this thing. I mean, because this is a touchdown. If you throw it right now, let him, keep it in stride and not have to turn around. But, sometimes, go ahead.
Is that an arm strength issue, or is that a issue of just him misreading the length of the throw? What do you think?
I think it's just timing. I mean, if he throws the ball a second earlier, then he hits JJ in stride, or you hold it for an extra second, and JJ runs faster than pretty much anybody that's that size does. So, I mean, he's probably used to he probably had some big receiver at Kansas State that looked like JJ, like a diet Rite Aid Cola version of JJ, and he probably could throw it like that late, and the guy would just be getting under it. But like JJ's so fast that you gotta move that thing, And sometimes I think that with quarterbacks, it's the hardest throws when the guy's just wide open, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to air mail this guy, because that'd be devastating. I mean, so you want to put it where you can get it, but you could always throw that better and hit him in stride.
Well, he threw it too far in the first one. Remember that? I think his first try, he threw it way over his head, so maybe he was trying to readjust that throw. But then you look at that throw that he threw to Emeka, the interception, and you wonder if that was an arm strength throw or just miss. But obviously, he's got the strength to make the throws. We see him make the throws over and over again, and then you watch something like that, and I hear people questioning his arm strength, and just a question I had, what you thought about that.
Well, I mean, I don't. I mean, I think he's got plenty of arm. I mean, there's guys that in the NFL that played today that didn't have a strong arm as well. But they also, Like I said, I think he's still getting comfortable. Like he's only been here since January, so it's not like he's been throwing with these guys for years. And I think some guys they forget that. He came to a new system. He's got JJ now. It's a whole different ball of wax. I'm gonna go to this fade now because this fade was this was the Sports Center reel. Again, they've got the big heavy. Look, is this unbalanced? This might be unbalanced. I don't know who this guy is, but that looks like a tackle. So I can't tell if this is a tight end. That looks like a tackle to me. No, I can't tell.
Number 15.
See,
on the end there.
We're at here. The motion, like this guy?
Yeah.
Here or here? I think that's Josh. Yeah, this is not unbalanced. It looks. It's probably just 3 tight ends. This is a big tight end: Kazmarek, Bennett, Christian, Jelani. And so they get like the big heavy look, and then they throw the fade, the one-handed snag, and again he throws this kind of right on the money. This guy's mugging him pretty good, and I'm sure that JJ's done this in practice, so I'm sure they're just like, well, let's just toss it out there, and this guy can just get off me because I'm better than you are. But yeah, JJ is he's a different animal now. Different animal. Like that's the guy that, again, you want to talk about guys that you want to take in the draft, guys that you want to take on the road, guys that are that are built for the NFL and cold, rainy weather and snow, and like JJ's that guy. He's like Plaxico. Plaxico when he was in the snow versus Green Bay that one year when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, just an absolute dog, a guy that you couldn't stop. That's what JJ's gonna end up being like.
I saw JJ burn double coverage a couple times, and Will Howard missed him wide open. Of course, he's all the way down the field, and by that time, Will Howard has already made his throw or is getting pressure and getting out of the pocket or whatever. But there was a couple times when I saw that JJ just blowing by people, all the way down the field. So he's definitely got the speed for it.
Yeah. All right, let's get some super chats going. That was way too big. Jay Willie 75. Thanks for the deuce. Night and day emotions watching the Bengals and Ohio State. Yeah, it was not a great day for Ohio football. I've always had my theory that people get really angry and upset with Ohio State a lot of times for no reason. A lot of times it's stupid because the Browns suck so bad and the Bengals are perpetual letdowns. So again, I grew up a Browns fan. I went to every Browns game from '99 to '02. I honestly am not a Browns fan. I'm not a Browns fan because they stink. I just don't. When I went to every game, it was great, but you just kind of grow apart from it. And I'm more into fantasy football and more into watching all the games and watching all the players and betting on games and stuff than I am just watching the Cleveland Browns play. But they're so bad. And Deshaun Watson is the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. And watching Joe Flacco throw for 400 yards today, I was like, and they didn't re-sign a guy that would have given that he would have signed in Cleveland for nothing. And they signed Jameis Winston, who's a cancer and a moron. So I don't. So and then the Bengals, of course, they blow it versus the Ravens. So again, it's just but again, it puts more pressure on Ohio State football to be excellent. So when Ohio State sucks, or even when they don't suck, even if they win 35-7 or whatever the score was yesterday, like people are so mad because they have to be even better. Even though the Browns and the Bengals suck and the Reds suck and the Cavs suck and everybody else sucks. It's like, so Ohio State they have to carry the mantle for all of the state, which again, this is what it is. Ohio State's been recession proof. They've been unbelievable. They haven't cycled down like every other team in the universe has in college football. They didn't lose to Vanderbilt yesterday. The almighty, God-loving Alabama Crimson Tide they got smoked by the Vanderbilt Commodores yesterday. So I don't know. It's interesting, like when you look through everything, but I don't know. I feel bad for Browns fans. I feel bad for Bengals fans. But it just kind of is part of it. I mean, there's nothing worse than being a Browns fan because it's the most cursed franchise in the history of sports because no matter who comes there, they always end up sucking or tearing an ACL or getting arrested or whatever. And they're just so poorly mismanaged because again, like all they had to do is resign Joe Flacco, and then you at least have a quarterback that gets rid of the ball. It doesn't take 7 sacks like Deshaun Watson does. So yeah, I don't know.
Let me ask you this: Browns fan or Team Up North fan? Which one's worse?
Well, I mean, there's nothing bad about being a Browns fan. I don't think being a Browns fan is. I think Browns fans are great people. I mean, I'm from Northeast Ohio, but I think it's harder to be a Browns fan because
that's what I meant. Being the fan.
I mean, being a Michigan fan, you're just an idiot. Like if you're a Browns fan, you're just a glutton for punishment. Like you just every single Sunday you want to get kicked in the balls because that's what it's like. I mean, it doesn't matter how good we're supposed to be, how good the defense is, and again. I'll be the first guy to say that I was dead wrong about Deshaun Watson. I thought Deshaun Watson was going to play like he played in Houston, where he was amazing and he was a whirlwind, and we got a franchise quarterback. And he's not as good as Baker Mayfield. And I think Baker Mayfield's one of the greatest douchebags in history, but Baker's 1,000 times better than Deshaun. But it just is what it is at this point. So I feel bad for Ohio sports fans because it's just tough. I mean, you can't get great players to come to the state of Ohio because all these guys want to go live in LA and they want to live in Dallas and they want to live in New York. I mean, hell, LeBron James is from Akron and he couldn't wait to get out of here twice and go live in Miami, go live in LA because he couldn't get good players to come to Cleveland. Is what it is. Like rich young dudes, they don't want to go live in Ohio. They want to go live in Miami and Dallas and New York and LA. This is what it is. So. It's tough sledding. The OSU state of mind. Thank you for the 5. Oregon has played against Chip Kelly. How much does that help them being familiar with his scheme? I mean, I'm sure they'll watch what he did in the last couple of UCLA games where he was a play caller. That tape's probably more valuable than anything. It's just watching how he called, especially last year. Versus Lanning and that staff. So there'll be some familiarity there. But I don't think it's a huge difference because it's, Ryan Day, his throw game is different than Chip's. And I think that obviously our athletes are much different than what Chip has ever had in his career. I mean, outside of when he was maybe with the Philadelphia Eagles. But, I mean, how our skill guys that we have now are better than what he had with the 49ers. I mean, just being honest, go look at that roster and go look at the roster we have. Like, I mean... now those are NFL guys, but JJ and Emeka would have started for that 49ers team. I mean, how Chip Kelly even said to the commentator, he's like, JJ would start on any NFL team today. So again, and I've been saying that for a month now, but again, I played in the NFL. Like I've seen some of the guys in the NFL and I was like, yeah, JJ is better than any of those guys. Like it's not some, hyperbole. Like I've seen guys that are in the league and I'm like, that guy starts in the NFL. I mean, and again, this is not bad mouthing Brian Hartline at all. Brian Hartline had a nice career in the NFL. He started a lot of games in the NFL. Like if you had to pick Brian Hartline or JJ Smith to play in an NFL game in both of their primes, like who are you picking? Like everyone in the world's picking JJ over Brian Hartline. And Brian started, I don't know how many games, but he's in the league for 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was. But again, JJ is just a different type of animal. Devin, what do you think? Do you think Oregon has played against Chip Kelly, and how much does that help him being familiar with the scheme? I think it's they'll watch the UCLA game from last year for sure. But I think I don't think it helps, but actually they'll probably watch all the UCLA games because that's kind of it's his offense, his run game. What are your thoughts?
I would guess that it's not going to help him too awful much because you brought it up, the skill players in Ohio State and the speed of this team. I would almost guess that it looks like a pretty different scheme when you got as many, skill players and fast players running around for Ohio State. Like if you go watch his play calling at UCLA, he's probably calling for those skill players that aren't as fast, and he's playing to the strengths of that team. And I know I've always heard people talk about that's why Chip Kelly's so good because he calls plays to get the ball into the playmaker's hands. So now that he has a different set of players, I would imagine that, some things might look similar, but I don't think it's going to help him very much at all because Chip has a different set of players now that are a lot faster, a lot stronger, and a lot more skilled in a lot of areas.
I agree. I think it's a different world when you've got the weapons he has now. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, thanks for the 5. College football is pure chaos right now. True. Also, how long has Miami been getting away with this? They have played on ESPN last week. Yeah, I mean, Miami was they had a lot of benefits last night. If you guys watched that game, it's clear that their conference really, really wants them to get to the playoffs. So they're not going to have them lose to lowly Cal, at 3 a.m. when nobody's watching at the end of the game. Yeah, I like. One of the benefits to the transfer portal is you get some teams that can get good, and you get some guys that normally would have been buried on depth charts that can transfer to places like Vanderbilt and Miami and wherever, and all of a sudden, like teams can beat teams because again, you don't have depth like you used to. You can't just put guys in the closet and leave them there forever like you could before. But I think that when you look at yesterday, it was. I mean, I could imagine being a player for the Alabama Crimson Tide right now. Especially, I mean, because I don't think I've ever seen a juxtaposition of home win excellence, insane environment versus Georgia, knocking off the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, to lose to Vanderbilt on the road. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. Like when Michigan lost to Appalachian State, it was first game of the season. Not totally fluky, but it was pretty fluky because you needed Sean Crable to not block the guy in the end, and the guy runs in there and blocks the field goal to end the game. So Michigan they drove down and they're ready to kick the field goal to win, but their wing was a general studies guy and he couldn't do a field goal protection, so he went flying. The guy goes flying in there and blocks it and whatever. But yeah, I think college football is amazing. Devin, college football is pure chaos. Again, thank you, Chocolate Chip Scoochie, for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Also, how long has Miami been getting away with this? What are your thoughts on that, Dev?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. Watching this game last night, I watched the entire thing. I was furious the whole time. I'm on this roll with the officiating in college football right now. It's not just Ohio State games. Like you watch all these games around the country. Let's use Miami as an example. You see the Virginia Tech game. You saw what they did to him at the end of the game. That was not cool. That was just a horrible call. Then last night, now before I say this next part, Cal should definitely looks like they just gave up. There's no way they should have let that game get into a position to let the officials screw them over. But then you have they reviewed the call for like 5 minutes again, just like the Virginia Tech game. I can only imagine that they were trying to decide on how they were going to turn this into not being a targeting call because it was clear as day targeting on Miami. Should have been a first down for Cal, and they probably could have, kneaded out the rest of the game and won the game. But nah, they didn't. Refs failed them out again, and the officiating is it's not because it's Miami. It's just the fact that, the officiating this year is something that is very disturbing to me. And I cannot, it has to be obvious as all get out now. Like, I don't think this is me being in some emotional state. Like, you watch what they did at Virginia Tech in Miami, and now they just did it at Cal. They had an opportunity to let Miami win the game. They gave them the opportunity again, and they won. So it's crazy right now. Alabama loses to Vanderbilt. They're still the number 7 team in the nation. Can't explain that one for anything, but dude, I love it. It's freaking crazy, bro. College football is awesome.
It is. All right, let's go. D. Sonny, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Hope you're doing great. When you have the primetime game, what's different during the week? How do you feel knowing every college football fan is watching? Well, that's a great question. I think that nothing really changes. I think this week will be different because they have to travel, and this isn't jump on the plane and fly 2 hours to Wisconsin or Iowa. This is 5 hours or whatever it is to the far corner of the country. And again, I did this in my senior year. We played the Washington Huskies out at Washington, and it was that flight. It felt like it just never ended. It was like I kept waking up from naps, and I was like, "Are we still not here yet?" And flying home sucked just as bad. But we got out there, and like I said, we left a day early, which was Tressel's decision. I thought it was a great move. We kind of had like a little mini bowl trip because like that Friday was pretty loose. Like we walked around the fish market and walked around downtown and whatever. Because we didn't play till it was like a noon. It was like a noon kick the next day, and we're in the hotel and we're staying downtown. So it was like, hey, as a team, we're all gonna walk down to the fish market where they throw the fish around and walk around Nike Town. Like we had like little gaps in the day where we could kind of go out and see downtown Seattle a little bit, and not too far, but just kind of get out, stretch our legs a little bit, and but Tress wanted us to stay off our feet too. Don't be walking around all night. So, but I thought it was fun from a team building perspective because most of the time when we're all in the hotel together, like we have to play a game the next day, so it's not you're kicking it, but you're not cutting up that much. But when you're 2 nights out, you can cut up a little bit more and relax. We'd always get to watch a movie. We'd always get to pick a movie on the the little thing inside the hotel. We could rent a movie. Again, this is before iPhones and iPads, which obviously makes it a lot easier to do that stuff now. But the biggest thing that changes is like when you play these big primetime night games is that you've got you're in the hotel all day. Now this will be different because it's a West Coast game, so these guys are going to be heading to the stadium about the same time as a 3:30 kick. So they'll head to the stadium at like noon or 12:30, 1 o'clock. Go to the stadium. You try to get to the stadium 2 hours early. Get dressed, get warmed up, whatever. Go play the game. Because there's nothing worse than like when it's East Coast, we're playing at the shoe and it's an 8 o'clock kick or a 7:30 kick. Because like you're sitting in the hotel all day long, and you're just like, can we please go play this stupid game? Because I don't want to sit here for another 6 hours. And what happens is you end up having all these walkthroughs. You have like 3 walkthroughs on the day of the game that normally you wouldn't have. But the coaches are so paranoid that we better walk through this one more time, do 5,500 extra walkthroughs, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, I already know this play, I already know this blitz, I already know this front. Let's just go play the game. That's why I love noon games because it's the least amount of like it's the least amount of like busy work. I mean, all of you guys have been in high school, middle school, college, whatever, and people give you like busy work to do. That's what like the extra 3 walkthroughs are on a night game. It's like, why are we doing this? This sucks. Like, let's just go play this stupid game. So when people ask me why I hate night games, it's because of all the extra stupid walkthroughs that we'd have to do. So yeah, that's what would change. And honestly, it does feel good knowing that the world's watching because you get to go put your best foot forward and there's more juice. I mean, this is the game that I think the players are excited that it's here because they're probably tired of talking about it constantly to the entire fan base. The fan base has been asking about this Oregon game for years now, especially after we lost and they canceled it and the COVID, pushed it back. So, again, everyone and their brother, including Devin, have been asking about traveling out there, getting tickets, who's going, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just part of the deal. It's like, when you play in these, like when I played in the Texas game in '05, like I don't think we'd ever played Texas in the Horseshoe. So, I mean, there was this build up for literally like 18 months about the Texas game. Oh, you got to beat Texas. Oh, you got to play. Then we lose. So then in '06, we got to go back down there. And thank God Vince Young had left. Thank God. But all I heard about after we won that game is, oh, you better get Texas back. Got to beat Texas. Got to beat Texas. So then it's like, you play these matchup games and nobody even cares about the games before that. They just care about, let's get to the matchup game. And, I don't even like that. I think that term's stupid, the matchup game thing. But you're playing a team with equal talent. And, when you're Ryan Day and you're Ohio State, that's 1 or 2 times a year you actually play a team that has equal talent. And Oregon, their talent isn't quite as good as Ohio State's, but it's close. And every other team we play on our schedule isn't in the same universe. So this is when you have to actually go coach football and go win a game. Like if you're Ryan Day and you're the staff, because the game's going to come down to the staff. The staff has to get these guys ready to go, pull out all the stops, and go beat a team with equal talent. Because the people on Buckeye Scoop, we could have went out and ran the show and beat Iowa, and we could beat Western Michigan and Kentucky or Akron and whoever else, Western Kentucky, some of these preseason games, like they could hire me and 7 people from the tailgate lot and we could go beat those guys. But when you're playing Oregon, you got to go win a game. So it'll be interesting. Dev, do you have anything to add to that?
No, but I got a little side note for you on the Scoop board today. If you're not on there, get on there, man. It's an awesome place to be. Did you see the ESPN article, the ESECPN article on Ohio State and the Iowa game. Do you see what they wrote on that? That they said
well,
that
of course.
had a little trouble swatting Iowa away.
I mean, like the difference between me and like Ohio is like I wouldn't let ESPN in our building. I really wouldn't, because like again they do this all the time, because again this isn't Kirk being tinfoil hat guy. This is the fact that they are literally in business with the SEC. They run the SEC network. They are in bed with the SEC. Period. They run the Longhorn network. Period. Like I mean, we're in business with CBS and Fox. So I mean, so when people get upset that ESPN, they crack on Urban Meyer, they crack on Ohio State. It's their business. So I mean, I don't know. Like ESPN has done enough shady stuff. I would never let him in the Woody Hayes again. This is me. But again, I don't take being crapped on the way that our SID, who's a moron, does. Unless those guys come, they let Taylor Lewan come in. A guy accused of rape at Michigan, one of the worst human beings. They let him come in the building and interview Ryan Day. I'm like, okay, geniuses. But again, that's why our guys don't win any awards, because we don't promote them. Because we don't know, we have no idea what we're doing in that realm. It's amazing. Because I haven't seen any promotion of JJ Smith yet. Just saying. I mean, he's pretty good. You might want to get on that. I mean, we're only halfway through the season, but. Nick Ma, 71, thanks for the 10. I do have a small concern with Howard's passing talent. He should start, but he needs to be better. One TD to the back shoulder was actually to the inside. A better corner takes that. I mean, yeah, I mean, everyone on the team could be better. I mean, again, I don't think he's Aaron Rodgers by any stretch in terms of his accuracy, but I think he's pretty good. And again, I look at the totality of the quarterback along with the scheme and system, because could he be better? Of course. Could Josh Simmons be better too? Sure. Could Jack Sawyer be better? Could Sonny Sutton? Yeah, of course. But I think he's been an upgrade over McCord. I don't care. Here's the thing. I don't care what Kyle McCord does at Syracuse when he's playing UNLV and he's playing Georgia Tech and all these. Like, none of that matters to me. All I care about is what did he do when he was here? He didn't beat Michigan. The one game we needed him to win, he couldn't win because he choked it up. He was lead-footed. And Kyle's gotten better. Like, Kyle's playing much better this year than he did last year, because I don't think he does well under bright lights. Like, when he has to play under really bright lights, I think he shivers. And he did. Like, when we needed him the most against Michigan, he couldn't get it done. Threw that pick six. It was terrible to start the game. And again, I've broken that play down 100 times. Will Johnson had inside leverage right on Marvin. Marvin's running a slant. Marvin ran a really lazy, terrible slant. I know that Marvin Harrison is God, but he was lazy on that play. And then Kyle throws it there. And again, he should have threw it in the stands instead of trying to force it to Marvin when Marvin clearly wasn't interested in running the route. Will Johnson picks it. And, again, I'm just like, I don't know. Because everyone, these guys are all better. I was like, what guys do at lower levels doesn't concern me, because nobody cares about Syracuse, and there's zero pressure on you when you play at Syracuse. You come to Ohio State, it's a boiler. It's a boiler room. And not everybody's made for that. And Kyle McCord clearly wasn't made for that. So again, he's gotten better. Again, I think hopefully he gets drafted by, somewhere in Canada where they can, there's not many people watching. He'll do great. And I think he'll do fantastic, or the XFL or whatever. Because, when he has to go where teams actually have people watching, it's not going to be real pretty.
Browns.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be perfect on the Browns, because the way he turns it over, he'd do great at it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think now here's the problem. I think that people hate Will Howard. There's this weird sector of people that just hate Will Howard for some reason. And I think it's because they think he's not as accurate as C.J. Stroud. Now, mind you, C.J. Stroud never won a single significant game his entire career. He won a Rose Bowl versus a bad Utah team, which was great. Nobody cared. But he never won a big game. So we'll see if Will Howard can beat Michigan this year, and we'll see how he does. And I know CJ has a second overall pick, so again, it's not fashionable. And I'm not hating on CJ, but I mean, when we had Troy Smith, I mean, Troy carried us. He carried average talent, maybe above average talent, to beat Michigan every time we played them. Obviously the Florida game is his black eye. It's our team's black eye. But I think everyone's just like, well, he's not as accurate as CJ Stroud or whoever, but CJ Stroud didn't run like Will Howard. Will Howard's got like 4 rushing touchdowns already. So again, let's see how the whole season cooks out. Because again, I love Will Howard, and again, for with him and Chip Kelly, I think this will be the most potent offense that we've ever had. Because again, I look at the whole thing. I don't just look at passing yards and everything else. Because we run the ball now. We're not soft as Sharman like we were when we had CJ throwing the ball 50 times a game. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. Cordero Jackson, thank you for the 5. Bold prediction: Howard will be the only QB ever to be in New York without having one single game of passing over 300 yards. I'd be fine with that. Devin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I second you, man. I personally, though, I don't know about you, but I would not trade Will Howard for a single quarterback currently playing in college football in Chip Kelly's scheme. I heard Nevada say it several. The dude was 21 for 25, 84%. He threw 4 passing touchdowns. He ran for 1. I mean, he's 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year, 1,200 and some yards. I don't have anything to complain about. Show me a QB in the nation that hasn't made a bad pass and thrown an interception. He's only done 3, but that's just my opinion. I think he's doing great. And yeah, you can pick any quarterback in the nation and watch them play this year and nitpick several of their throws, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, you have to understand, like, we might have the best rushing attack in the entire country. So it's like, I'm not going to penalize Will Howard because he doesn't have to throw it 50 times a game. Because again, I don't want to do that. I mean, we had, again, CJ Stroud, again, great player, 2nd overall pick in the draft, the whole shebang, amazing player. Maybe he's not the best quarterback. He's not better than because when we talk about best player in Ohio State, who's the best quarterback, like it can't be a guy that's never beaten Michigan, a guy that's never won a significant bowl game. So that doesn't I mean, Troy won the Heisman. There's better picks than that. And again, I like CJ. Like I said, I think he's a nice win today, beat the Bills, whatever. But he had a lot of gaudy stats because we couldn't run the ball. We threw the ball a ton. And again, we had 3 first-round wide receivers who were excellent. Obviously, that helps. You have Garrett and Olave and Marvin and all that. And again, most people with brains would agree that that trio is probably better than the trio that we have right now. Again, now that might be crazy, but they all went first round. I know JJ will go first round, and Mac will go first round. Carnell potentially could go first round, but like when you had Garrett in his draft year, and you had that's pretty good. And plus we were like Oklahoma, or like we were like Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma, where we were throwing the ball like crazy. We got too soft as an outfit because we didn't run the ball. We were just chuck and duck. And so, yeah, we put up gaudy numbers, and that's great, but we couldn't stop the run. It made us to the point where we were so soft up front because we didn't run the ball and we couldn't stop the run that it cost us games against Michigan. So it was tough. Devin, you already did your thoughts on that. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, man, 5-0. About to go 6-0, man. I'm excited to watch this game. It's going to be a big test for the Buckeyes. We'll see how they handle the environment on the road, but overall, I got a lot of confidence, especially watching our defense and offense play Iowa. Beautiful schedule, man. Step up every time. So enjoy the moments. Don't get caught up in the 1 interception Will Howard threw. Get caught up in the 4 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown that he had. Focus on that. You'll be a lot happier, man.
Totally agree with you. Let's wrap this show up. As always, appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to kick it with us. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Sunday Night Football is about to kick off, so I hope you guys enjoy yourself tonight. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys. You guys will do something spectacular. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Get on your iPhone, search for the podcast app, type in Buckeye Scoop, and click subscribe. That is huge for us. Appreciate if you guys could do that. Again, completely free. It's something that really, really helps us out. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.